All right, we're on. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean, and he's going to do a little bit of introductions, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Sean.
Perfect. Thanks, Alicia. And yeah, as she mentioned, feel free, keep open dialogue tonight for this. So if you have questions, if there's something, just, either raise your hand, interrupt me, just speak up, because we don't want it to be left and maybe you forget your question or whatever it is. So hopefully everyone can hear me. And can you see my screen? Let me just say if you can see my screen here.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So really, Alicia and I put together a presentation just on how to run a successful raffle. So by no means are we experts on this. We really, reached out to the district, talked to a lot of clubs who have done raffles in the past. I know our club here in Fort McMurray did one last year. So there's just a lot of information that we've kind of gathered that we can present and provide to you to take back to your clubs. Just to give you some ideas, some topics of the discussion, to let you, take it back and hopefully run a successful raffle. So just starting with some introductions, I can introduce myself real quick and then turn it over to Alicia. So my name's Sean Parley. I'm the DG for Zone C and the current president of the Fort McMurray Kinsmen. So I've been in the club about 6 years now, a few different executive positions. And as we mentioned, we ran a raffle last year, a beer for a year. So we gained some experience from that. Obviously, there's a lot more we can learn from it. But maybe I'll turn it over to Alicia just for a quick introduction to herself as well.
Sounds good. So, yep, I'm Alicia Fox. I'm out here in Smoky Lake, about an hour and a quarter east of Edmonton. And I'm the secretary of the Smoky Lake Cadets and the district communications director, coordinator. I don't know what my title is, but it's something like that. Anyway, I'm better at communicating than I am remembering my title, apparently. But yeah, I've been in Kin a little over 2.5 years now, and have really enjoyed meeting the people and volunteering in the communities. So we've had a few raffles online, and really at this point, it was more of a matter of necessity than anything. Initially, our first go at an online raffle was to reach a different group than we usually reach. So we had our ladies' night and we had our in-person fundraisers, but there were some folks who were just not feeling the in-person stuff. Maybe they were very busy, maybe they were a little bit less about getting together in really big groups. And so we tried to reach out, had a really successful wine survivor fundraiser. And I know that has become extremely popular. And since then, I mean, especially in the last year, we have put a lot of our stuff online. So we're still trying some new stuff out, learning the pros and cons of different platforms. But that is me and the experience with raffles in a nutshell.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully you'll get some good information out of this that you can take back to your clubs. And as I mentioned, feel free to answer or ask as many questions as you'd like during the presentation. So really, the purpose of this presentation is just to provide you with some raffle ideas that we've kind of accumulated or gained from other clubs across the district. We'll talk a little bit about some AGLC compliance. That's always very important when you're running a raffle. We'll highlight various methods that we've collected on how to run a successful raffle, online distribution, online marketing, in person, some different pros and cons there. And then hopefully from this, we can provide you that information to take back to achieve that financial success amongst your clubs. So just to start, some of the information that we got from other clubs, and a lot of you may have done this throughout the year, different raffle ideas. So it's always good. And this is one thing I really enjoy when I do meet up with other clubs. And unfortunately, it's tough this year, but just getting ideas to what they're doing in their communities. So I know, for instance, Adam in Coaldale, the Coaldale Kinsmen have always run the big Harley raffle, right? So it's always been a very successful raffle. Then you've got other ideas like 50-50 is very common. I mentioned at the start of our presentation, the Kinsmen Club in Fort McMurray here last year, we did a beer for a year, which for our first raffle that I've been a part of, I think was fairly successful. It's just finding new ways to market those ideas. There's other things that come up, boat raffles, Chase the Ace I know has been a big one. Cash Calendar is one that the Cadets do here in Fort McMurray. They've done for a few years, and so that's always been success. Eric was mentioning at the start of the call, skip the dishes. So just an opportunity there to give out vouchers for your community, right? Grey Cup raffles, cash draws. So lots of different options that are out there. I think it's just a matter of how you maybe market to your community, or what you feel would be a good opportunity in your community, right? So when we were doing our beer for a year, for example, it was running a lot off of ball tournaments that we were doing. So good opportunity for that type of crowd, right? And I think this, brings up questions. What are your clubs doing? What are some good ideas or some successes that your clubs have had? So a couple flashing maybe comments or things there.
Yeah, sorry, I just I didn't want to interrupt you while you were kind of
No, go ahead.
through that. I was just going to say, if people could just type in the chat really quick what their club is, that would be an awesome, just brief introduction. The one piece to mention that is, if you're working with a club that's out of province, or if you happen to be from an out of province club, some of the things with AGLC will not necessarily be the same in your province. So you should definitely double check that. And again, just make sure that, some of the guidelines change in that. So it's best to make sure that you're checking directly with AGLC, and Sean has provided that link there. There will be some information at the end for you to make sure
Absolutely.
that you're perfectly compliant there. But yeah, so yeah, if you want to just put in your club, and if you want to let us know what is your top fundraiser been, if anybody wants to unmute and let us know what are some of the real big winners in your clubs.
Hi, I'm Sandy from Vulcan. One of our biggest fundraisers has been our Ladies' Night Out. We haven't been needing to do any kind of raffles before, other than on the night of the Ladies' Night. So that's kind of why I'm here tonight, is because we'd like to start doing stuff online. So hopefully we'll get some ideas from this here. So.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Sandy. I know that for us in Smoky Lake, a lot of our fundraisers, we really depended on that in-person stuff. So yeah, it's a whole new territory looking online.
Yeah.
I could say from Stettler, we usually have our poker night in November is what we try to do, and it usually helps us, but due to COVID, we couldn't really do it this year. So now we're kind of looking for some new ideas.
Absolutely.
Just speaking as another member from Stettler, no, we totally don't do a poker night. We never have, and we never will. And I don't know what this guy's talking about. He must be crazy, but he is totally right. We're looking for different ideas. The other good one that we've had raffle-wise the last couple of years, we did a kids' dream home, which wasn't a ton of money. We got together and we got donated materials and we built a kids' playhouse. It actually turned into a pretty good she shed or man cave shed or whatever, nicely finished stuff like that. The real bonus about that was that it was different from what was going on in the community. So it generated some interest. It was also really big. So we were able to get it into our trade show, which drew people to it to buy tickets there. But the biggest spin-off of it that was really surprising was we got together to build it. We had, accountants and oil field guys and handy people and office people and all sorts building this shed. And that doesn't mean I'd say it was really well built, but we had a ton of fun doing it. And it was a huge boon to the club, to our morale, to do it that way, and then to see it raffle off and go for good money. So that's just something that's a little bit different instead of the same old. People love cash raffles, obviously, but if you want to set yourself aside, you've got to do something that sets yourself different from the rest of the group. But yeah, right. No, we don't ever do a poker night because that would be against Kin Canada's rules and regulations.
Noted.
In Drumheller, we had a fairly successful Chase the Ace, but what we found was it was difficult to get the people out to work at it. I'm looking for some ideas from an online raffle perspective where we don't have to actually go out and physically sell the tickets because that doesn't fit well with our club members.
Okay.
Yeah, out here in Rocky Mountain House, we're kind of in a similar situation where everything is in-person based. So we're looking for something different.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest challenge this year is how can we get these, these ideas and these, opportunities out to our community while still maintaining those, those COVID protocols and everything that we have to follow, different rules. So it is a challenge, and that's one thing that's maybe kind of forced us to hold off a little bit right now as well. But I think there's still opportunities, and based on what I've seen in the D4 page, it seems like clubs are still running 50-50 options, the Harley raffle. So that, it's still possible. It's just, how can we now distribute it to the public, right? And how can we get it out for those ticket sales?
Yeah, no, for sure. I know in our club, we had done the Wine Survivor. It was extremely successful the first year. Second year we did it was also successful. But of course it was competing with a lot of very similar raffles at the time. Because it was right at the beginning of everything, and we held off a bit, but yeah, there was that little bit of, that's a really popular one, so everybody's doing it. The other one that we had was a WestJet raffle, and so it was 2 tickets to anywhere WestJet flies, and that one was extremely successful. We usually do it at our beer gardens during the rodeo here in Smoky Lake, and we do sell tickets online. And we can talk a little bit about those platforms later. But most of that was done in person. Super easy one to transfer to an online platform though.
Perfect. Any other comments at this stage? All right, so for those of you that have run raffles, you know that there are AGLC guidelines that have to be followed. So I've attached the links there at the end as well, but very important, just making sure that you're following these AGLC rules, right? You don't want your club getting in trouble and losing, your license opportunities going forward. So I just put a few comments that we kind of learned from our raffle and others as well. So just making sure you have your licenses in place. And I think as well, understanding what requires a license. So I attached a link there, but just briefly pulling it up. So there are opportunities or fundraisers that do not require a license. So that would include silent auctions, live auctions, bottle drives, but basically everything else on the list in the previous page. So 50-50 raffles, Grey Cup, sports draft pools, Chase the Ace, Wine Survivor, gift baskets, poker rallies that are happening. So all of those do require a raffle license. So you just want to make sure that you're in compliance with those. And then as well, once you've completed your raffle, you've drawn your winning ticket, just making sure that you're completing those financial reporting documents. So very important. I know our club completed the documents, followed up, and AGLC didn't receive them. So it can create a bit of a headache, just making sure that you had everything in place, that they have it on file. So you just don't want anything delayed if you are trying to run multiple raffles throughout the year, or avoiding any delays. And then Alicia and I mentioned as well, if you had questions, Garth being the risk manager, we can always reach out to him. You can reach out to myself, Alicia. I'm always happy to provide that information. So just very important, and being mindful of that. So what are the benefits to your club with regards to raffles? And Kirk really, touched on a very important one. I think that is club fellowship, right? Whether it's building something to then raffle off or sell or auction in the community, it does bring a sense of fellowship with your club. But then there's obviously the financial benefit. You get community exposure, and then at the end of the day, you're serving your community's greatest needs, right? Which is ultimately what the goal through this fundraising is. So there's a lot of benefits to your club, and I think it's really worthwhile to consider this. So based on a few of the comments kind of heard tonight, it really is, how can we promote our raffle these days with all the new restrictions? You know, it's not as easy anymore. It's just going out door to door, trying to sell tickets. I think there's a real push to utilize social media, right? How can we best use social media? There are email platforms or options available. You know, if you have to get out into your businesses, putting community posters up, word of mouth obviously maybe travels through your place of work, your friends, family, different things there. So it's you know, finding what works for you and your club and your community on how to promote your raffle ideas. And then I think very important as well for ensuring that you have a successful raffle, you know, make sure you have an organized raffle committee. You don't want a whole bunch of people handling, you know, the money, the tickets, the different things. You know, you really want, you know, a you know, smaller group to be taking care of this, just to avoid, you know, missing tickets or missing funds, right? I think that's very important. And then, you know, ensuring proper marketing, whether it is through Facebook or social media, and then what's the most efficient means based on your, you know, your tech savviness, you know, your access to, you know, e-transfers. To, I'll touch on some other options later, but you know, what's going to make that most effective for collecting those funds. Any questions on this before we kind of get into some of these in more detail?
I think there was one note there in the chat from Hillary, was just to, if that committee that you're organizing there would make copies of what is sent to AGLC and just track when and how it was sent. So she had said that, you know, every year our club has to resend the documents at least once. So probably a really good thing to keep in a secretary binder or something there, just to have copies of that, just in case it needs to be resent.
Absolutely. So our treasurer, go ahead.
Another way that you can keep your documentation up to date is to have an online account with AGLC. When you submit your information, you've got a record of it because it's right there in the system and you know that they've received it.
Absolutely. Our club still uses a giant box of paperwork, so our current treasurer has that. Works great.
I'm just going to add in to Keith's comments there. Any of the 50/50s that we've done, it's way easier to look after that, look after everything online. At least that's what I find.
So just out of curiosity, then you can submit it directly online through a portal?
Yes.
Okay.
You can actually apply for your licenses and all sorts of stuff through that portal. You don't have the fee. You don't have the fees associated with going through a registry agent. You've got really good turnaround time, direct access, and you can also follow up on where you stand with respect to your annual reporting and those sorts of things through that portal. So it works really well.
That's good to know, because yeah, we normally mail it in and then they'll claim that they don't receive it. So then we'll fax it. And then, you know, sometimes they claim that they don't receive that. So if they do have a portal, that's really good to know. And maybe we'll put a little bit more information, because I wasn't aware that they even had a portal. Granted, I'm not the one that usually uploads that to AGLC. So
Hillary, if you're able to go back in time to find a fax machine, why don't you just go back in time and resend the paperwork?
Moving on.
I don't know. That's a pretty good question.
I just want to step in there for a quick sec. There is an AGLC office in Lethbridge that you can just drop it off right at their front desk. Super easy. They have a fax machine that you can use if you want.
I don't live in Lethbridge, but thank you for letting me know.
Well, for the time that it takes for the fax to get there, you could probably drive to Lethbridge. Okay, sorry, Sean, we're sidelining here.
No problem. Yeah, so I think it was Keith who was talking about the online portal there. Yeah, so when we filled out our raffle license here in December, really easy. Like you said, it's really straightforward. You just follow the pages, each step, fill it in, and it's instant, right? You've got your license, you can print it out right there. So really easy to use. It's a great platform to use. Perfect. So social media. So imagine everyone's used social media in some form to really promote their club, their raffle ideas, what they're doing in the community. And so what we found, and when we ran a raffle last year in Fort McMurray, we only started using Facebook kind of towards the end of it, but we did really notice a boost in who it was targeting, the people on Facebook that it was, getting the tickets out to. And I know a lot of other clubs have found, real success with this as well. So there are options through Facebook, like Facebook marketing. So you can strategically target individuals in Facebook under certain demographics. So if you want to target an age group, maybe where they live, whatever it might be, it allows you to do this. So you can get instead of just trying to, mass share through your page to Facebook, it allows you to target individuals to kind of get it to the best demographic. Facebook reach ads, this will more or less target to as many people, but it doesn't last for as many days. And then with this, so there are costs to it. It is very minimal. And what we got from clubs is that it's roughly $1 spent on marketing generates $10 in raffle sales. So right away, there is a real added value to this and a real benefit. So it's worth looking into. Our club is not the most tech savvy when it comes to Facebook and being able to target this, but we have somebody that we've kind of helped us to target these individuals for this Facebook marketing. So there are people out there that you can reach out to. There are ways of targeting demographics, and I'd say it is a real benefit that clubs should consider using when trying to promote online sales.
So just to jump in there, there's a lot of online learning opportunities and courses that you can take through. Sometimes different social media organizations will hold learning events for this. I would absolutely highly recommend it, because if you're getting into the Facebook marketing, it is a really great tool, but it can seem a little bit overwhelming when you first delve into it. So if you take just a sort of Facebook marketing 101, or one person in your club does that, really recommend that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Other advice we've received with regards to social media marketing is, if you're doing a video, keep it short. So under a minute, you make sure that you grab the person's attention. You don't want a long video that, somebody just scrolls through, they get bored watching it, whatever it might be. Whether it's making it flashy, whether it's making it advertising. So, for instance, with us, if it was beer for a year, you really want to highlight that. You've got some good graphics to just kind of draw people in. The Harley raffle, for instance, you want to show, a nice picture, draw people in with that online marketing, right? Some clubs, they've hired a professional videographer, photographer to make a video, proper photos. That way you are getting the best quality out while you're producing this. And then really, utilize all social media platforms where possible, right? So a lot of us maybe just use Facebook. You can use Instagram. I don't know all the other ones, but there's other ones out there. So whatever it might be, but lots of options where you can target other individuals to get those ticket sales, right, through online marketing.
Yeah, and with the social media platforms, there's everything from, Twitter, Instagram, Flickr. There's all kinds of different ones that you can put together. I think probably Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are kind of the big three in terms of the marketing piece. Mm-hmm. And then you can use YouTube as those videos, which is an awesome idea. I would note though that if you're doing the Facebook, Instagram, one piece to take into consideration is that when you post on Instagram, it gives you an option to also post to Facebook. The tags and the hashtags are going to show up differently on the two platforms. So rather than just say post to Facebook, it is actually better to do a separate post both to Instagram and to Facebook, because it'll show up a little bit differently on the two platforms. So you'll have a more effective post if you take the couple minutes to just post separately, unless it's a very basic post.
Perfect. So email marketing. So this is one that I wasn't really familiar with. We did get some information. So there are ways that you can use a company. So at the bottom here, one of them is called sendinblue.com. So it's a way that you can generate basically like a mass email out to, again, targeted demographics. So it's just a successful way of getting, whether it's people who have bought in the past, if you've collected email addresses, There is a cost to it, but it is effective based on what we got from it. Some of the information recommendations was, just keep it very simple. So with mass emails, only send text and web links. Anything more than that usually ends up through a junk filter, so it doesn't really reach the targeted audience. But I'm not as familiar with the email targeting marketing, but this sendinblue.com seemed to have some information there that does present an option if you've got a larger email list, or you had some people in town that you think you could send through work through what you've gathered in the past. So just something to consider.
I'm curious, has anybody ever used this? I just wonder if it has an opt-out option at the bottom, or the unsubscribe, just because I know that there is legislation in place that mandates
That's right.
to have that opt-out. So
I do use Send in Blue. I use it for the Harley marketing. There is an unsubscribe automatically attached to it that people can unsubscribe from the email service. Right now, we're seeing on average about 0.2% of the people that after we send them an email, they do unsubscribe. And that number can range. When you use Send in Blue, you have a tolerance of up to 2%. Anything above that, and your account will be suspended. So you have to be cautious when you are sending those emails. But it has worked out very well for me. Every email that we send pays huge dividends and our sales that generates for Raffles.
Oh, that's awesome. I've never
So
used
Adam,
it.
is it just based off the emails that you have, like your data bank of emails, or does it allow you to, again, target like an email list that they might have, or that
No, this is going to be from your own database that you create. So when you're doing a raffle, and moving it online helps out big time, because you start creating that database of people you can market to. Even if it's in a small town like Smoky Lake, getting 500 or 600 people's email accounts is huge. When you get into Facebook, you can tell Facebook, I want you to find these 600 people and find me 6 other people that look just like them. So you can find more buyers. They're going to buy your tickets. They're similar in profile to people who have already bought tickets. And that same list goes into the email marketing strategy that we put in together. We send those emails that's from people that have previously bought. In the last month, I think I've sent 27,000 emails.
Wow.
For the Harley raffle. So
Oh,
it's a big deal, and you want to make sure that you're managing that database. There's also a limitation on how long you can use those emails for. They're only good for 2 years. And that's as per the same as you unsubscribe. You're only allowed to have that list for 2 years, then you have to delete those emails out and hope they might buy again.
Okay. No, that's great. Seems real effective. Like you said, like you can obviously reach, we said 27,000 people. That's very substantial, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
The Send in Blue is really cheap to use. If you use MailMonkey or whatever it's called, the monkey one, or MailChimp. So you go to MailChimp, you're about doubling the cost for the same benefit. Now, some groups have got their own custom unsubscribes, where a person can pick how they want to unsubscribe. Do they only want to see an email once every 3 months, or however they want to see it? That option there is probably a better way to be going if you want to invest heavily into that. We didn't do that. That will start to keep your database still alive with people that are unsubscribing. We've only lost in total maybe 800 people in unsubscribing over the last 3 years.
Perfect. No, that's great. Excellent. Thanks for that, Adam. Appreciate it. So kind of moving on to different methods of selling tickets. So obviously the most basic, and as is mentioned in the cons, it's not really COVID friendly right now with everything happening, but is door-to-door ticket sales using local businesses. So promoting through Home Hardware, going into Canadian Tire, whatever it might be, selling tickets. So, pros, as everyone's probably done, it's very low tech. It's good for small towns, sure payment because you're collecting funds right there and you're out in the community, right? Maybe a little more challenging right now, obviously, the things being closed, business being closed. And you do need a lot of a lot of members to really be out doing this. It takes a lot of time. So there is, those challenges, but most basic, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on it. Most people are familiar with these options, right? So this option, so it's called universe.com. So it's an online ticket platform. It works based, again, there's a cost for this. Only charge is the processing fee for credit cards. It allows you to promote through, again, social media, different online platforms. So there is a cost. And I believe Alicia had the kind of the challenge here being when you enter your postal code. If there was an error, it wasn't allowing credit card payments to be processed, and so they lost some sales because of this, whether it's just frustration and not being able to be processed. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more to that or not, Alicia.
This one wasn't actually one of the ones that we used. We used the QGIve, which was
okay. So that later then.
Similar stuff, but yeah, if anybody has used Universe, if they want to kind of chime in. If not, look into it, I guess.
So I use Universe for 2017, 18, 19 for Harley Raffle. This will be the last year we're utilizing Universe. The cost for Universe is roughly 5% of your sale.
Okay.
Next year, we're going to be migrating over to Stride Management out of Calgary, which is Dean Faithful. In case anybody doesn't know, that's an old deputy governor. Dean's company is now really doing an a la carte type system for raffles. These are obviously for ones that are a little bit bigger, not huge, but they do the Kinsman home, or they do the home lotto out of Calgary. Stars Lottery is one of theirs. He does the major ones, but they've gone and created kind of an a la carte system that's for the smaller clubs that charges you basically a fee per order. And what that takes you away from is having to buy tickets and mail them out to addresses. They will take it online for you so that it'll just automatically email you. Your customer will buy that ticket and it'll email directly to them. And they will then give you that database and you'll be able to process and use that. Now you need to have a Moneris account for e-commerce, and you need to set up an agreement with Stride to do that. And for the ticket draw itself, they can actually do the random number generator for you so that there is no question, that there is no unethical thing. If a Kinsman member in a club wins, it was all done through a third-party company. You had no control over it. So there's lots of options to doing that.
So we can put, so you said it was Stride Management, right?
Yeah, so Stride Management out of Calgary. And if anybody wants to get in touch with them, Shane's a great guy to work with. Those guys will really help you out. They started out from Stampede Kinsman in Calgary. So these guys know the Kinsman Club. Shane was a Kinsman member. And it was amazing to work with these guys to get to this point today. And you'll see the Corvette raffle out of Milk River is now using Stride Management. And just to give everybody kind of a quick segue here, Corvette raffle was all done in person. They sold their tickets at the mall in Milk River and through sending out a letter to people that had previously purchased. COVID hit, you can realize the struggle these guys are going to have, and they've got an $80,000 card they've already purchased. They use Stride Management, and they are more than satisfied with what's going on, and they're having a huge success with those guys. They saved the raffle for the Milk River Kinsman.
Wow. So we'll put in some information here, some contacts for Stride. I've got it pulled up here, so I'll add that into kind of later format with the document we'll send out and attach. So I'll get that. I've got Shane's contact, looks like here. So perfect. Thank you. Again, very basic option, e-transfer. So this is one option we used last year when we had promoted through Facebook. Social media was, the person agrees to buy a ticket, they e-transfer you the funds, they get deposited then into your club's gaming account, whatever it may be. So it's just an easy way of doing the online payment, collecting funds. Pros, you're not cash handling anything. It's direct deposit. There's really no cost to this, easily transferable. However, at the same time, there are some cons. So just making sure it's the right amount, properly getting passwords, the funds being transferred. So it's a pretty basic. I'm sure everyone's kind of used the e-transfer option. This would really be, we found it if somebody just said through Facebook, yeah, I'll take a ticket. We wrote the name, information down on the ticket, sent them a picture of that ticket, and they e-transferred us the funds. So Pretty basic, you can get lost a little bit in the communication, but pretty straightforward.
So that doesn't follow AGLC rules.
E-transfer?
You can do the e-transfer, but you have to physically mail that ticket back to them.
Oh, okay.
You're not an electronic ticket processor unless you've paid for that type of service, which is a whole third-party company.
Right.
You have to mail in Alberta. You still have to mail the physical ticket to them unless you have a electronic ticket processing set up through AGLC.
Perfect. That's good to know.
Yes, thank you. That's an important note. I was not aware of that, so, but I am not the risk manager in our club.
We'll update that. Square. So this is an option where you can use a debit credit card processing platform. So there's a couple others, as Adam kind of mentioned, having whether it's Moneris, PayPal, but Square allows you to set up basically an online store where people can purchase the tickets that way. That way money is directly deposited. It's a little bit easier for processing. There are transactional fees involved, but it seems to be pretty successful based on those that have used it as a setup. So some of the pros, it is pretty straightforward. You've got good customer service online with the platform. You can attach it to your website, social media pages for processing. Some of the cons, though, there's issues. Just like you said, if you have maybe posters or anything and you can't really attach it, it's more of that online. You have to be a bit more tech savvy, maybe setting it up. And then, of course, you do have processing fees for it. So we've never used Square. I don't know if others can speak to it a little bit more with some of the benefits to it or some of the challenges you found.
It's a really great way to link on Facebook. We do use Square quite a bit. We do have a store set up. It is also able to be integrated into a website. And so if you do have a site for your club, you can put that on there and the store can be in there. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just you have a drop down menu. You're purchasing tickets for the 50/50. You're purchasing, or you're sending a donation for something like Angel Tree or the Christmas hampers. We've used it for that as well. And so they can select what they're doing and it kind of gives us that information when we get that right in our account. It is lower fees than some other credit card processing, but it was just a very basic kind of introductory piece. So it can have its cons, but it does work.
Perfect. QGive. So this is one, again, that Alicia has really used a lot more frequently. So really this provides a full service online platform where you can create your donation page, your landing page for your website. It's very shareable. It's very user friendly. So it really just allows you to create that page for your raffle, right? So there's a lot of benefits to it, a lot of pros, and maybe Alicia, being a bit more, versed on this, I'll let you talk to it a little bit more.
Yep, for sure. So I would note right away off the bat, I mean, I think the cons are on the next page, but it is a little pricier. However, we did find that it was extremely user-friendly. We put this form up and it has all the information. You put in, we did it for our Wine Survivor. We put in our information, email address, our address. It generates the ticket, sends it straight to you. It uses a credit card processing application called Stripe, and Stripe does have its own fees attached to it. Together, I think they equal about 4.5% to 5%. What I really liked about it, though, is that you could put at the bottom an amount or a percentage that was donated to the club. So for example, if we said, oh, well, our processing fees for a team of 5 people, it's going to cost $165. Our processing fees are $7. And they could click to say, yes, I would like to also attach that to mine as an additional donation. We did actually see more than half of the folks choose to do that. So it's just a little note at the bottom. It's not a high pressure or anything. But we did have a lot of people say, yeah, I don't mind kicking in a few extra dollars to offset processing fees. So there was that piece. The only thing that we ran into, I mean, other than, you know, the stellar customer service, they were back and forth with us the whole time. They have really great training. I feel like we barely dipped our toes in what could have been for that platform. We used one thing. You can also use it as an ongoing fundraiser. You know, if you want the Kinets or the Kinsmen to have a donation straight to them, you can also get a main page that is just an ongoing fundraising page. But the one big thing that we landed on was the currency issue. So they are based in the States. However, they can do processing here in Canada, but there was the dual signature issue. So the dual signature for, I think, most clubs, depending on your bank, won't allow you to have auto debit. And that was an issue because then it was a $10 a month processing fee for us to physically send them checks. So that was a little bit of a pain to do that. However, if there was a different bank, and I know that I'd been talking with Joanna about how to make that work, it is possible that there is a workaround for that. So that would be something you'd need to check with your bank about. And then we did have the issue of initially Stripe was charging everybody in US dollars, which as soon as we went live, we had 3 tickets sold and they were all charged in US, which of course, with the dollar being what it is, was not ideal. So we ended up having to refund that. But because it was paid to us in Canadian dollars, we did make that back. It wasn't us losing that amount. It was just that we had to send them back what was the difference. So we shut that down, contacted QGive. They sorted it all out in about an hour the next morning, and then we were back online. So just a couple of things to note. If you do use it, I would suggest having your club or somebody in your club do a test donation. Just send $10 in, check your credit card, make sure it's all good, just to kind of do a dry run for it.
Right.
But I would recommend it if you're a little more tech savvy. It takes a little bit of setup time.
And can you use it reoccurring? So like you've set it up, now you've got your online account, whatever it might be, and kind of ongoing for future raffles. You mentioned you can also collect ongoing donations, but if you're setting up a second raffle, you just continue using that same
absolutely. Account. You can have concurrent raffles. You can have, it's just a form you create. And so you can have that all set up in the back end. And you can do all kinds of different pieces in there. You have your club logo and whatever. So no, it's a very full service platform for sure. Whether I know there are a lot of options, this one was one of the ones that had a little bit lower processing fees.
Okay, because they said between Stripe and QGive, right? The additional cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's about like 2.5% or 3% for QGive and 2% for Stripe, something like that. So about 5% total. We found that to make it as smooth as possible, that was a reasonable cost just for us because we were making a decent profit on the raffle that we were doing. So we were okay with doing that for that time. Yeah, and it actually generated the whole list and send us reports. And we could go into the back end and see all of that right in a nice document there for us. So it worked. It worked that way. We'll probably look into other options moving forward as well, just to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for the price.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of the options, depending on what you're looking at, and again, your club is, like Alicia mentioned, if you can have a platform that generates these reports for you, your registration lists, invoice, everything, you know, a lot of that can save you time and just make it more efficient. So there's some added value there.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about QGive, you can shoot me a message or ask. That's fine. Yeah, we just used the one time, but we were satisfied with it.
Right. Excellent. Is Jenny on the call?
I didn't see her there.
Okay. So this one, we got some information from her. So it's called Rafflebox. So it's another online platform where not-for-profits are able to create and manage online raffles, 50-50 fundraisers. So I was on there a little bit just looking at it. It's pretty user-friendly, creating, you know, whether it's your online page, your graphics, details through the website. They will also print all your draw tickets, send them to your club following the raffle completion for reporting. They'll email you PDFs of all the tickets sold, and they allow all those funds being streamlined through to your gaming account. So there's some pros and cons. Seems to be a good platform. I know Jenny sent an email and said their club has been pretty happy with it, and some of the benefits that they've found with it. Like she said, in terms of just getting the closure documents to complete your raffle, where there was some of the cons, I guess, higher processing fees. So there is more of a cost for this. And then there seemed to be a bit of a lag. So once the winning ticket was pulled, it took a bit more time to receive the information just to close out the raffle. So depending on what your timeline is, there could be some issues there. But it seems like, based on what I've heard from Adam, Alicia, with some of the costs, this raffle box seems to be a bit higher. We've got about 8 to 10%. So more in fees, but seem to be a pretty effective or simple online process. I don't know if anyone else has used this. I was hoping Jenny would be here to talk a little bit more about it, but anyone else?
I know the Laclavish Cadets currently have a raffle going. They're doing it through Raffle Box. They have Christmas cheer boxes, baskets that are based on the reindeer, which is kind of a cute idea. So if you're looking for some of that, they've got some neat stuff there. But as a user on that end, I found it extremely easy to use. It just popped right up in the Facebook platform. I put in about 3 things, and it sent me my ticket. So I know 8 to 10%, definitely a little bit higher, but that piece where it's drawing the ticket for you, which is also really good, because I know for some of our raffles, even with QGIV and whatever, we did go to drawing the tickets, on a separate platform. So
Right.
the ones drawing it, of course, couldn't participate, and there was some things around that, but that's my experience with it. It was extremely straightforward. So
Excellent. That's pretty much all we had for some of the online options, some of the marketing strategies. I'm going to add some information in from Adam's point there on the stride management, and get some contacts on that one. That seemed to be a very, very effective and useful strategy. But any other questions, or maybe just some discussion on some of the challenges you've seen and that we can address, that we've got a few people on the call that have some experience and have run some raffles, but just a good time to get some ideas and some conversation on this.
I'm kind of curious, if we have these online raffles, there's no way to do a paper-based along with it then, is there? Like,
That is wrong. You can do it. So here's how it would work out. If you want to do an online raffle and a paper-based raffle, you need to print off the tickets. So then you're gonna, when a person buys it online, you're gonna mail them their ticket. When a person buys in person, then you're gonna have to give them their ticket in person. You can do it that way and then have the draw barrel.
So things like this raffle box or the QGIV or anything who's initiating the draw, then
you wouldn't be able to utilize those services. You'd be basically creating it yourself.
Okay.
You create your ticket, you get AGLC to approve your ticket. If it's under $20,000, you can go down to any registry, pull that license, tell them the ticket's red, and they're good to go. And you can do a raffle for under 20 grand pretty easily.
Right.
No, that was a really good question. I imagine with raffle box and that I didn't know, so that's good information. With QGIV, it is just a platform for them inputting that information. So I imagine you could set it up, but yeah, you'd have to have those physical tickets. So you could sell them online and you could collect that information and that payment, but then the ticket would have to go to the person who bought it.
The one thing that's really key for everybody is, if you're going to be doing raffles, is getting that database built. Every time someone buys a ticket, get that email address. The phone number is not as important as anything else, but that email address, because it'll help you build your Facebook account. It'll help you build your raffle for next year. It is a huge, huge item to have.
Yeah, I would
Really good.
definitely agree with that, because I know that even in some of our email contacts and some of the fundraisers that we've had for any of the registration forms, we do have a little tick box there to say, yes, I would like to have the club contact me for future whatever. And we have put together a decent database of email addresses. One thing that we completely off topic, but one thing we used that for was actually volunteers at large. And so for members who couldn't make it to an event, we would reach out to our volunteers at large and say, hey, are you by any chance, are you available to help out with this event, with this selling tickets, whatever it was? And these people wanted to help our club and support our club, but they just couldn't commit to being a member. And that was a really great database to reach out and find out who was interested in that list too.
The other thing is, if you do have those lists, make sure you keep them protected. If they do get lost or in the wrong hands, obviously it's going to be devastating towards that club. It's the same with your online processing. Make sure whoever's doing the processing for you, that you've researched it, and make sure they got good data security on their products. Because if they ever do get hacked, you're the ones that get red flagged for it. It'll be your name that comes into the media, or your name that gets spread out into the public.
So Adam, is that something that Kin Canada has, whether it's insurance or coverage on, or is that's a liability to your club directly?
So Hillary might be the one that can maybe answer that. Maybe she knows the answer. I know there's something that is concerning our club today, is that maybe we do need to find out different ways of looking at getting that insurance.
Right.
As I do run those lotteries through the club, I have my own personal liability insurance just in case anything does go wrong. It's not typical that someone would carry that, but just through what I do for a living is how it's worked out well for me. But yeah, so really make sure you're cautious about how you're getting that data and how it's being stored and how it's being utilized.
That's good to know.
Just to add on, just because Adam threw my name in there, I'm not actually sure if that would be covered under insurance. Perhaps Kirk would know more than I do, but that is definitely something that we will ask National on. I know that there is definitely suggestions to have that information pretty locked. So like if you have a document, have it password protected, for example, and obviously store the password somewhere separate. But that is something that we will definitely check in to National with. Kirk, if you're still on, do you know anything better?
Not offhand. I do feel like that's probably something that's new. I wonder if this will be one of the, maybe not the first time that it's come up, but it probably isn't included in our national insurance, and it probably should be, because every club will be keeping a list of info for, like Alicia said, for volunteers, for raffles, for previous winners, for this, for that. Each club should have a privacy policy. Just being a nonprofit corporation in Alberta, and it may be covered under there, doesn't necessarily mean the insurance is there. So to sum up, we'll ask.
Yeah, that's good. I think we should have that, to present to the clubs, just so everyone is aware of it and that we're covering, especially our risk management details there. Anything else? Any other questions anyone might have? I know it's a lot of information. We do have some documents that we'll get out to everyone. So you got it for the club. We'll update a few of the details. I've made some notes here, get that updated and a little bit more there. But anything else? Any other questions or comments?
I'd just like to make one point. You've done a great job, Sean and Alicia, but I heard the terms fundraiser and raffle kind of interspersed, people using them rather carelessly, because they are two different things. And so if we're talking about a raffle, we have to work with AGLC. If we're talking about a fundraiser, we don't need AGLC involved because you're not raffling off anything. You're not giving anything back to the people that are doing are helping you with the fundraising. One other thing is you might get questions asked as to whether with your fundraising or your raffle, if you can give receipts. And legally, clubs cannot give any receipts. You definitely can't give receipts in any case for a raffle because people are getting something of value, even if it is just a printed or emailed ticket stub. But for fundraisers, there are ways that clubs can facilitate receipts. And I would suggest that you look for organizations such as the Kin Canada Foundation to help you facilitate those fundraising projects where you're doing something in your community and you think you could benefit significantly by having larger donations, and those larger donations become facilitated through being able to give receipts in many cases.
No, that's a really good point. We do get
yeah, really good, Keith. Thank you.
Yeah, I would really love to start maybe a thread on the D4Kin Facebook page. So if you folks are all on the Facebook page, which I hope you are, and you probably got information about this on there, I would really love to start a thread with just some ideas. So I may put that out there once this information is put together, just to generate some conversation about what might work in your community. But what I would really encourage is to look at the assets that are in your community and figure out between your community members, maybe reach out and really figure out how to capitalize on those, because each of the communities is so different, right? Everybody has different assets within there, different unique businesses, and would definitely be an option and an opportunity to really get unique to your club and own that. But yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to your community and find out what they think might be a good idea too. We got some really good ideas from that.
Hillary or Kirk, did you have any closing comments, any other thoughts or suggestions? I like Alicia's idea they're putting out on our page just with some maybe club information, but anything else, any other comments you had?
Not specifically. I think this is fantastic. I think some of the online platforms that you guys brought forward, the QGive and things like that, Rafflebox, whatnot. I think that's really interesting because for some of the smaller raffles, it really takes a lot of the legwork out of it, and it's things that I didn't know about before. I dealt with quite a bit of gaming. I did everything to do with gaming with my club. I'm pretty sure if I die, none of my club will be able to log into their online gaming account. So I mean, I consider myself pretty well versed in that side of it, but this was all new to me, learning about some tools that'll help facilitate making it easier. I mean, we're all getting busier every day, usually, outside of the last year, and anything we can do to free up our members' time so that they're not out there experiencing that fundraiser fatigue. I know it went rampant through our club. We had a couple of really good years fundraising wise, where we had done a Grey Cup raffle first thing in the fall. We did some event that doesn't involve poker, where we had to sell people tickets. We then moved into a men's night that we sold tickets for attendance. We then did our radio days that we solicit to businesses for our ads. Then we had our duck race in the spring. And what we got back from a lot of our members is they'd go to somebody to sell them a ticket, or they'd even just We had a truck driver that attended a site every week. And when he got out of the truck, eventually the people were like, "Oh, here's Werner. What are you selling this week, Werner? What are we buying now? What are we buying now?" And I mean, it started to get a little embarrassing for some of the guys how often we were going out for that ask. So this is a way that we can really get it outside of our circle of kin friends and family, right? That are closely associated with us, and it can all of a sudden go to the general public that maybe prior to that day had no affiliation, no knowledge of kin or anything like that, but it gets shared to them, and all of a sudden now they're a paying customer that you never would have reached before. So
Right.
that's an interesting topic for me, and I'm excited about moving forward with some of those.
I do have a question, and it just kind of nags in the back of my head a little bit. When we're putting it out on Facebook, Adam, maybe you can speak to this, or somebody who knows the AGLC rules. Out of province ticket sales, yay or nay?
Oh, that's a really easy one. So with the online sales, the tickets must be mailed to an Alberta address.
That's what I figured.
So anybody that's in BC, but the thing is that same rule is inside BC. You can, if you're inside BC, you can only sell tickets inside BC. So that works across the country that way. We do, now my raffle does somehow or another, people end up sharing it to people in Ontario, it gets out into the States. And people complain about that in the States, they really get upset about it. It's like, understand it's just the rules. I can't change the gaming rules for it. You will see other raffles out there, other things that they are selling memberships, and it's $10 for a membership and you get a free ticket on a prize. That's how they've gotten around the AGLC rules, that there is no AGLC, there's no license involved with that, and they do go across provinces. So if you're gonna have an AGLC license, only sell in the province of Alberta and just ship them to Alberta residents. In person, you can sell them to anybody from around the world. This past year, we sold ones to a couple from Switzerland.
Yeah, I thought it was if you're physically present, you buy the ticket in Alberta.
Yes.
You qualify. Okay.
Exactly.
No, that's a great point. Thanks, Adam. All right, well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time tonight. So as I mentioned, we'll send out some information to everyone. You can send out the PowerPoint. It's got some links in here that you can use. We've got a PDF and some documents that we'll send out as well. But other than that, if there was no more questions, yeah, we'll get this out to you as quick as possible. And hopefully it does provide some information that you can use to consider running a raffle within your community.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate
Thank you.
Thanks
welcome.
for putting this on, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, great job, guys. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Perfect. Thank you.